This video will teach you how to multiply any number by 50 mentally. So there are only two steps required to do this. First, you divide the number you're multiplying by 50 by 2, and then you multiply that number by 100. So, 32 times 50. First, you would do 32 divided by 2, which would give you 16. And then you'd simply multiply 16 by 100, which is the same thing as moving the decimal point twice to the right. So doing so, you'd get 16 and then you add two zeros or move the decimal point twice to the right and you get 1600. Second example. So this is a bit different from the first one because after dividing 47 by 2, you'd get 23.5. This gives you a decimal, right? So you would have to multiply this by 100, same process. So same thing as moving it twice to the decimal point twice to the right. So 1, 2, add a 0, and then your final answer would be 2,350. You can do this with multiple number digits as well. It just doesn't have to be two. It just doesn't have to be two-digit numbers. So if you do 157 divided by 2, it gives you 78.5. Multiplying this number by 100. Move the decimal point twice to the right, so it would be 1, 2. You'd get 7,850 as your final answer. You can do this with four-digit numbers as well, and it's the same process. So you do 2014 divided by 2, it would give you 1007, and then you multiply this number by 100, just simply add two zeros, and you're done. That's it. So feel free to pause this video and work on these three practice problems. I will start doing them right now. So 1031 times 50. So you do 1031 divided by 2, which gives you 515.5. And then you move the decimal point twice to the right, so it gives you 1, 2, 0. Final answer would be 51,550. Let's do this one mentally. So 93 times 50. You divide 93 by 2, which gives you 46.5. You write 46, but this time let's not write the decimal point. So doing this mentally, you move it twice to the right, the imaginary decimal point twice to the right. So 1, 2, and you would get 4,650 as your final answer. Same thing with 144 times 50. So you do 144 times 50. Divided by 2, sorry, it would give you 72, and then you move the decimal point twice to the right, or multiply it by 100, which gives you 7,200 as your final answer. So this problem also has variations to it, so you can do this with decimal points as well, but the key is to ignore that decimal point until the very end. So let's pretend 7.6 times 50. Instead of 7.6, pretend it's 76. So do 76 divided by 2, which gives you 38. Multiply this number by 100. 1, 2. And then you would have to move this decimal point once to the left because that's what it does in the original problem here. So your final answer, after moving the decimal point, your final answer would be 380. Same thing with 6.62. Just pretend it's 662. So you divide that by 2. It's 331. You multiply this number by 100. 1, 2. And then you realize that this 6.62 is two places to the left of this decimal point here. So 1, 2. So you'd have to move this decimal point back 2 numbers. So 1, 2. Or 2 places, sorry. So your final answer here would be 331. Let's do this one mentally. So 1.06 times 50. Ignore the decimal point, so it would be 106 divided by 2. So it's 53. Let's pretend we already multiplied it by 100. I'm sorry. So it'd be 5300. So let's keep that in our head. So we see that this decimal, in the original number, the decimal point is twice to the left of this point there. So if you move the imaginary zeros back 2 points, you would get 53 as your final answer. So you don't even have to add any zeros or anything. So feel free to pause this video and work on these problems, but I will continue solving them. So let's do all of these mentally. So 4.04 divided by 2 would give you 202, and make sure you ignore the decimal point. So 202 times 100 is 202, and then 2 zeros. So again, moving the decimal point back twice because of this here, you would just get 202 as your final answer. So you'd ignore those imaginary zeros. Same thing with 3.44. So 3.44, or 344 divided by 2 is 172. You multiply by 100, so 172, 0, 0. Then you realize you have to move it back twice, so your final answer would just be 172 because you ignore those extra zeros. Same thing with this last practice problem. So 8.56 divided by 2, or 856 divided by 2 is 428. You times it by 100, 428, 0, 0. And you have to move it back twice again. So 428 would be your final answer.